Hey!
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to episode 11. Today we get the opportunity to sit down with Marcus and then
Marcus Jessop.
I think it's interesting. I think I'm really excited about this one because he's been able to accomplish a lot of things that normally
Way out of the box.
Yeah.
Way out of. Yeah.
From what I
Not
can
even
see-
in the same atmosphere where my head has always been.
Anyways, I don't know if you have anything else to say.
No, just big ups to Leland, Lele Tafel for introducing us. This is exactly what we want to do. Hopefully, with our 55 subscribers or those who view, if there's someone that you would think would be interesting or would like to learn more about that you're connected with, we would love to sit down with them as well. And we got to sit down for a few minutes with Marcus before this meeting, so I'm super excited for this interview. Like I said, because a lot of the stuff that he's going to share is exactly where we want to go,
Right.
and was foreign to me, and I'm sure is foreign to a lot of you other minorities out there watching. So
Stay tuned.
Yeah, okay.
definitely. Clear. All right, hey Marcus, man, thanks so much for sitting down with us. We gave you kind of some insight into Bula Lekan in our ultimate program, which is trying to expose our viewers, youth, young adult, older adult, whoever, to kind of just opportunities outside of their norm, outside of the box, expand their vision, expand their networks, expand their understanding of what opportunities and possibilities are. So to that, really quick, do you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you come from, some of your history, and then we'll get into currently what you're doing today and going forward.
Yeah, so I grew up in West Jordan, Utah. We're just down the street here. We're in Sandy here in our realtor building here in the boardroom. But I grew up in West Jordan, Utah. Went to Brigham Young University.
Yeah.
Yeah. Went to BYU. Graduated. One of the few Polynesians I think there. I think I saw another person there that graduated from political science. I met my wife. 12 years ago. So when I moved down to college, we were living down there, and the first week I actually met my wife in college. She lived right across the way from us, and so we have 4 kids. I have twin girls who are now 10 years old, and I have a son who's 8 and a daughter who's just 4. She's almost turning 5. So. We live in Vineyard, Utah, which is the fastest growing city in Utah right now. Huge growth out there. We live right across the street from the old town hall building, and we've lived there about 2.5-3 years now. So really enjoy that. But my background, just graduating political science, worked on campaigns, elections, a lot of elections throughout the state of Utah. Helped run a U.S. congressional campaign, a U.S. Senate for a U.S. senator too, and so now now I'm here at the Realtors running their political action committee. It's currently right now it's the largest political action committee in the state of Utah, and we can get more into whatever that means. What is a political action committee and stuff like that. But I love politics. Politics is something I've always loved doing and will always continue doing. And I'm just appreciative to you guys doing this interview and getting to know everybody better. So, and this is my daughter Miley. Sorry,
Hi, Miley.
she's coming in. Honey, I'm doing the interview. Okay, thank you.
With all this high-tech equipment that we're renting right now.
Is that gonna be cut from the?
So really quick, I do want to get into what an action committee is, our political action committee is, but just stepping back, to some of your background. So obviously, political science graduate from BYU. Do you have? I don't know this. Do you have siblings? Do you have?
So I have one brother who just moved back from Boston.
And he's a what?
He's an anesthesiologist.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Of course he is.
Dang it. Yeah. So my brother, interesting enough, maybe he'd be good for an interview one day. He actually just moved back from Boston, got hired at a hospital up here. So he was doing, he just got done with his 5th year of residency in Boston doing critical care anesthesiology. But he was the first, I didn't know this, he actually went to med school with Jake Fatitsamanu, with Joe,
Oh, really?
Joe's brother.
Yeah.
So he went to med school with Jake, but my brother was the first Samoan ever to graduate from the University of Utah Med School. All of those
That's awesome.
Yeah, all those Polynesians going to med school. There's been quite a few Tongans, but no Samoans.
No Samoans.
Yeah, no Samoans, and so he's back here. He just came back here Thursday. I have another sister who lives in Layton. Her husband is the head coach for Layton High School wrestling.
Oh,
He's
wow.
biology. Yeah, they just won state just last season, so he's an excellent head coach for wrestling. And then I have another sister here who lives in South Jordan. She just now quit Delta. Now she just stays at home. But my brother-in-law is a teacher at Copper Hills High, teaches history. So, so that's us. There's 6 of us in the family. My dad still lives in South Jordan right now. My mom still lives there. She still works at Delta Airlines, and everything like that. So, yeah, it's been good. Been a good ride. Yeah.
That's also the reason why I ask, and it's apparent from there's a strong education base or foundation. It sounds like across your entire family.
Yeah.
So, part of where Matt went to college and graduated, but I never did. Like, I was just a terrible student. I was lazy in that aspect. But what are some of the influences, or maybe some of the principles that were instilled kind of within your family that led to that? Because not only is your brother an anesthesiologist, you've worked in government and politics.
Yeah.
2 fields that for way outside of my circle. You've got teachers within your family as well, and I think that's huge. So, can you share a little bit of insight about that?
Yeah, the person that influenced me most has got to be my dad. I mean, my dad growing up, he immigrated here from American Samoa. He has his degree in engineering stuff from the University of Utah. And when he actually initially came here, education was just number 1 important for him. I just remember my dad, he'd get really upset if we had a C or anything. He'd be like, oh yeah, it wasn't good. So he pushed us to get good education, everything like that, and try our best and in terms of education. But interesting enough, my uncle, a couple of years back.
What's his name? Sorry.
I have an uncle who's now, Pati. He lives in Utah now, but he was in American Samoa. He moved back here, and he was telling me a long time ago, he said, when my dad was in the islands, he'd be like the only kid who had all these math problems on. He would just it was weird. When he was in the islands, he would just had this huge sheet and he'd be writing down math problems. He's always been a big educator. In fact, my dad's a teacher right now. So my dad worked for several years at Hercules, a line tech. He built a lot of the propulsion systems for the missile defense system. Maybe a lot of the big missiles we used in the Gulf War and stuff like that. He did some work for NASA, in terms of propulsion. So he's very smart in terms of mathematics. I don't have that.
I can't spell propulsion.
That's not me. That's not me. That's not my. See, my brother is that way. He's smart. I remember growing up, my brother and dad would watch Jeopardy, and they'd just go back and forth, and they would answer every question. I'm not like that, but they have really good memories and stuff like that. So my dad has always been an avid educator, really smart guy, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of our background of education, and that stuff kind of instilled in me going forward as I went to college and everything like that, and decided to go to BYU and other and pursuing that angle. So
talk about why political science.
Why political science? Oh, okay. So I left on my mission. I served a mission in the Amazon. Left on a LDS mission. I had no interest in politics. I left around just a month after September 11th. So here it's the plane crashes in the towers, and I'm going a month later. And it was, for me, that was my first really interested in politics. To that point, I just had no interest. I go on my mission, and the president of Brazil at the time, he's no longer there, but his name is President Lula, and he was elected president of Brazil. At the time, he didn't have a high school education. And so it was crazy to see a person running a whole country, that didn't have that. And that's kind of my first inkling, my first interest into, I love politics. I want to do politics. And then, I came off my mission and started listening to politics. Interesting enough, I remember when I came back from my mission and really got into politics, I used to have stacks of paper that I would just, print things off and read. This is back before we even had like an iPhone where you could just read it. I'd have to go to the library, print, and I'd have like hundreds of pages of political stuff that I'd be reading, just printing out news articles and different stuff, and got really involved in doing that. I never knew, graduating in political science that I'd be doing what I'm doing right now. But, I just, it's almost like, when your first inkling to go into politics is, that you love, that I adore politics as my mission, almost like a, calling in a sense, and for me, it really worked out, has really worked out really well for our family so far. So, yeah, and so that was kind of my first interest in politics. And then as I was working through, as I was, going to school and everything, I actually graduated. So here I am, I graduate from Brigham Young University, a political science degree. And I come out of there, and at this point, the economy had crashed. Took me a little bit longer to graduate, So, so I graduated from political science, and at the time, the economy crashed, and I had interest in going to law school. In fact, the majority of class I took at Brigham Young University were law classes, and I studied LSAT. I actually was applying to go to law school, and then I had a strong feeling that I shouldn't go, and so I didn't go, And if you're a political science major, it's almost like if there's any sociology majors out there or whatever, you're a political science major and you're graduating in 2008, 2009 era when the economy crashed, there's not that many jobs that you can come out of. And a lot of the government jobs were, because people were losing their jobs, a lot of the government jobs were being occupied. People were applying for low-level government jobs who had years of experience and a law degree and everything. And so it was very competitive. It's hard to compete in that circle. So what I decided to do is I didn't want to waste my degree. You come out and you're like, man, I just went to college for 4 years of political science. What am I going to do, now that I'm not going to law school? So I actually worked in the morning. I worked in the morning from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And I did this for 2.5 years for free, just to build my name, because politics is like that. You can't. Yeah. You what? Yeah. So I worked for free for 2.5 years. So I had my job.
Excuse me. You what?
Yeah, worked for free. Yeah, I worked for free.
Dang, man.
So I wanted to be in politics. I loved it, but I knew that the only way to get into what I was doing in the only way to get to where I am right now is you have to build a name for yourself. It's like, and you have to start out from the very beginning, because nobody knows you. And politics is very much a relationship-based type career, right? It really is. So I worked for a subprime mortgage industry company, and that was interesting. The crash was because of housing and subprime mortgage industry, but I worked there from like 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. and afterwards, because I wanted to use my degree, I ran campaigns.
Were you already married?
At this point, yeah, I was married. I had 3 kids and everything. So yeah, 3 kids and everything. So my
work ethic sucks.
Yeah, 3 kids and everything. And I finally said to myself, I want to do this. I want to pursue it. So I worked from 6 to 3, got off, didn't see my family, went and ran campaigns from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. And I did that sometimes 6 days a week. And about 2.5 years, I did that. And I did it for free. Did it for free because
what is the campaign like? So managing or running that.
Yeah. So
campaign, what does that entail?
Yeah. So you're running the day to day. It's voter turnout. It's trying to get people out to vote. It's mailers. It's you do a lot of brochures. You do a lot of walking. I mean, when I first started out, I remember working on his congressional campaign, and I must have called thousands of people on the phone, and I just did this for free because I wanted to establish myself as someone that, hey, this guy's a hard worker, refer him next step. And so after that congressional race, I went to a state house race in Lehigh. I was helping one of my friends, Jake Andrick, who now is a state senator. But I helped him in his first house race, and I remember me and him, we knocked every door in Lehigh, literally every door in Lehigh. I mean, we knocked tons of doors, and we knocked it twice. And we just to get him vote, and we won that campaign, and the next campaign. So I didn't have anything after that. So still, hey, I want to still be involved in politics. I went to another campaign in West Valley, who currently represents part of West Valley. His name is Representative Craig Hall. He represents West Valley right now. But I remember that was a crazy campaign because I remember coming on in the summer after we won Jake's campaign in the primary, and I remember coming on in the summer, and we didn't have, I was driving from Orem. I was working, coming off, go back, coming off. Luckily, I had some work set up in Orem, but I'd get off work, then I'd come back to Orem, go to my family, see him for like 30 minutes, and I'd drive from Orem to West Valley, and I did that for like 5 days a week, 5 days a week.
So were you?
And I was getting paid. Yet? I was getting paid. No, I wasn't getting paid at all.
Oh man.
No pay. No pay. No pay at all. It was like crazy.
How are you still married?
Yeah. So my wife took a lot of hits. She didn't like it at all because I wasn't getting paid, and I knew that if I wanted to, politics is something I would do. Politics is something for me that when I do it, I don't feel stressed out when I do it.
Right.
It's the only thing I've ever done in other than that I love doing. I just love doing it. And I love doing it, and it doesn't bother me. And so I would do. So we ran that campaign on the Republican side for Craig Hall, and that race was tough because the Democrats had that seat for almost over 20 years. In fact, the last person to occupy a seat was Norm Bangerter, who's Bangerter Highway, and that was when he was in State House. That's way after he was served as governor and everything. So he's long gone out of politics at this point. And we ran a pretty successful campaign from about 6 months from the summer to November. We came out of there and we won the campaign. We won the campaign. First Republican occupied that seat in 20 years. That was an awesome campaign. Awesome.
That's an awesome story.
It's gotta be emotional.
So then
even
crazier. So this is how it works. So even crazier as I came in and won that campaign, and then one of my friends, Jake, he went to high school with a guy who was thinking of running for mayor of South Jordan, and I'm like, okay, So this guy calls me up and he's like, hey, will you help me? And at the time, this guy was the youngest guy. He had no political experience, just bantering on Facebook or whatever. No political experience. Youngest guy, Dennis from South Jordan, and he was running against people on the city council, the current mayor, a bunch of other people. And he comes on, he brings me on. This was my first. Now this was interesting because I didn't get paid unless we won. So if we didn't win, I get nothing, So I didn't get nothing if we won. So this is a huge risk, running against mayors, running against city council people, youngest guy. So I decided to help him out, and we walked South Jordan maybe 3 times. And I started early in the next year following. I started early, maybe March or February, and we ran a campaign from there all the way to November. And I remember in June was the primary. Came to June. We won the primary. We beat 6 people out. So it was just the mayor and my guy. We won. But we lost by almost 1,000 votes. In a municipal election, when you have only 4,000 people voting, 1,000 votes is pretty much you're done. Right. This is over. And we built this huge coalition and campaign from people on the council supporting us, on the planning commission, people throughout the city and everything. And by the time November came around, we won by 100 votes. We beat the incumbent mayor by 100 votes.
kidding?
Yeah, by 100 votes. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah. So we beat him by 100 votes, and now he's the current mayor of South Jordan, you know. So I finally got paid.
You got paid! You
I
did the work, you get paid.
I finally got paid after that. So crazy enough, this is how things work. There was a guy who is a dear friend of mine. His name's Ryan McCoy. He owns a business just actually next to Point of the Mountain, and a pretty successful tech company down there. But he lives in South Jordan, and me and him, we've never really crossed paths before. We knew of each other because we worked briefly on a campaign back in 2010, but he comes up to me, calls me out of nowhere, calls me in the blue of nowhere, and says, "And we have lunch." And so we said, "Hey, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, I want you to. Congressman Chris Stewart wants you to basically run his campaign." You know, and I became his political director because he was running for re-election again. And Ryan knew, and if Ryan's right, this shout out to Ryan, but he knew that he knew that Congressman Stewart needed somebody, and he was friends with Congressman Stewart, so he calls me up. And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." You know, interesting enough, I actually at that point I had to actually quit my job because this now became a full-time job, and it was part-time job. I actually worked there part-time for Congressman Stewart, helping run his campaign, and then on the side, my friend Ryan, he just hired me in his tech company to do a lot of email marketing to allow me to run this congressional race. And so I ran the congressional race. We won in 2014. And then right after that race, Senator Lee, who's now our current U.S. Senator, he approached me we were in a parking lot and stuff like that. And I remember the first time he talked to me, I was coming out of a Republican victory party. This is when Mia Love actually won her race. When Congresswoman Mia Love won her race, and he asked me, "Hey Marcus, do you want to help me run my U.S. Senate campaign?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it. Let's do it," you know. So it was, and I did that for 2 years. I got hired in November 2, and then that's when it became full time. That's when I started paying every month. But then I ran from November 14 to November 16. I ran that, and there was a stint there where they're thinking about bringing me on to the official side, how they say it, because there's in the political world, in the congressional world especially, there's a campaign side and an official side. In the official side capacity, you get paid by taxpayer dollars, so you cannot use campaign funds, for those capacity. You have to have totally two separate entities, totally divorced from each other. But you raise money here for the campaign, and then they just give you. They just give you taxpayer dollars to run your office on the official side. So I ran that. We ran that, and we did really well. We had, when it was all said and done in 2016, and interesting enough, that was an interesting race, because when they brought me on in 2014, there were a lot of people thinking of running against Senator Mike Lee, particularly from the business side. And we're grateful for those. Senator Mike Lee does an excellent job. He talked to some of these business owners, and we won them over and stuff like that. So we didn't have a challenger on the Republican side. And then come the election November 2016, we got the most votes out of any person running for office in the whole state of Utah.
That's crazy.
So yeah, we did really well there. And then I got and then I came upon this job. I'm sorry, it's taking a little longer. And then I came upon this job. And this job was, is interesting. You oftentimes, a lot of the jobs that you work in politics full time, like the job I have running a PAC, it's, you have to be referred by somebody. And so one of my really dear friends, Derek Brown, who now works at 1-800-CONTACTS, he's like the vice president or something over there. And so he referred me to this job, and I interviewed, and I've been working here since November. So it's like to see where I'm at, graduate from BYU, to not even know in the future, to like now, is just, I'm completely 100% grateful, for all the opportunities people have given me, and seeing that the talent, seeing that I could do it, and give me the opportunity. But politics, a lot like everything else, like business. I think you guys probably know this more than me, but it's all about being at the right time. You have your talents, but you be at the right time, the right place, and you can take advantage of it. Go ahead.
Well, two questions. Two questions. So one, I don't know anything about politics,
Yeah.
and as I've gotten older, I try to pay more attention or try to better understand. But I'm not like your what do you call it?
You don't know anything.
I don't know. Anything, right? So the stereotype though of politicians is that they're it's crooked and this and that. And when we talked last time, I said I want to hear your background, your story, but I don't want to get into an internet fight with people.
Yeah.
By pushing an agenda or anything like that. But tell us, you love politics, and I love your passion and your story already. Can you explain a little bit about you're a true stand-up guy, and I can tell just you're genuine from meeting you and your family and stuff like that. So if you could debunk the stereotype, and then also last time we talked, you talked about the lack of Polynesians represented in politics
in general,
and why that's something that you're focused on changing.
Yeah, I think to your first point there, they're actually being in a highly Mormon culture, LDS culture. Our political officers are a lot different than I've seen across the country. A lot different. A lot of them have very, high moral values. I remember working for Congressman Chris Stewart, and this guy's a family man to the man. He's just a family man, loves to spend time with the family. Not only that, his staff just loves him. He treats everybody well. When you go to Washington, D.C., it's like business, maybe sometimes like business, but when you go to Washington, D.C., there's a lot of cutthroat going on. A lot of people trying to climb to get to the top and everything like that, and backstabbing people. And it was nice when I worked for Congressman Stewart to not see that. His staff is very cohesive. They really like working for him, and it really starts principally from the person at the very top, And so the person at the very top really helps out. I'm sorry, that was my daughter. She's running out. Malia, please, honey, can you please not do it? We're doing an interview here, honey.
Daddy's trying to look cool on video.
Yeah, honey. So one of the other things was working for working for Senator Mike Lee. His dad was Rex Lee, so whose name's on the law school at BYU and everything like that, and so he comes from a very spiritual family, and he cares so much for people, and he has there's a misconception about him out there, but he's one of the most caring people I've ever worked for. He really cares about people and their interests, and puts family above politics and stuff like that. So we're in a unique state because we're in the state of Utah. I think our religious values actually is a benefit up in Washington, D.C., and then we have that from Senator Hatch, all the other people that are up there that really do represent a lot of their values, take their values up there, and it's a different environment, different atmosphere. But in terms of your second question, we need more Polynesians involved in politics. A lot of people don't understand that politics actually, politics is in literally everything you do. There's politics. Every major business that I know of, there is some aspect of government regulation that affects their everyday business. And so they'll hire lobbyists, they'll hire people to kind of talk to the legislature about easing restrictions on whatever it may be. Tech companies, they face that all the time, in terms of restrictions. And so since politics is such a major player in whatever you do, to have more Polynesians involved, I think is really important. And when we first met, we kind of said if you're not at the table, you're part of the menu in a sense, and that's the reality of politics. That's just unfortunate reality. And so the more people that we can see in politics and on Polynesians running for office, the more people I think will take serious the issues that affect our community and Pacific Islanders in general. But they have to see people there. On the Republican side, for example, right now, Joe used to participate with me, but he's no longer in there. But I'm really the only one. I go up to the Capitol or do whatever it is, what I do in politics, running the PAC, working with our elected officials across Lake County. I'm the only one in it. The exception is Bev Weepy, who actually is a councilwoman in Mill Creek. That's the only exception. Now Jake, he's not yet, but Jake is running for West Valley City Council. Jake is running for West Valley City Council, and so if he gets elected, that'd be great. That'll be 2 people in the state of Utah that are part of the political process, and you just have to be, for how dense a population. I mean, outside the islands, we should have. I think there should be greater. We should have greater influence in people working through the works there, if that's possible. And I invite anybody who's interested to get to reach out to me, and I'd love to get you interested in politics, because it is a huge facet of our lives and stuff like that. So
two questions to that. What are some of the effects that we are experiencing that we're unaware of because of our lack of representation? And then 2, how does someone like myself, I don't have a law degree, I don't have a background or anything, how does someone like myself participate or even get involved or get started in trying to make an impact or trying to be a part of something like you have been?
Well, yeah, to your latter question, if you want to get involved in politics, you have to. Politics is all about networking, right? You just have to be in, you have to know the people that are actually participating, being involved in politics. And so if anybody out there is interested in politics, then please reach out to me. You can reach out to me anytime. Do I give my email address? Should I do that?
I'll post it in the link. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so my email address will be in the link and stuff. And if you're interested, please become involved. There are actually a ton of issues that affect not only the federal level, but local level, that affect our people all the time. A good example is if there's many people that visit the islands, American Samoa in particular. You go to American Samoa right now. It's actually one of my cousins right now, Mitzi, on the Jessop side. She works for, I believe, the state senate. So she handles all the senators and their business within that in the American Samoa. And our cousin came down, who actually is a defense attorney. My cousin's husband's a defense attorney in American Samoa. He's a public defender. That's a tough job in American Samoa. So he was talking about all the issues there. And internet, for example, is really slow in American Samoa. It's like terrible. It's the worst. And all it would take is like just running a cable from Hawaii or New Zealand, high fiber cable, to bring business there. Because you got to think about American Samoa. You hear all these call centers going all over the place, right? All over the place, Philippines, all over the place, and you're calling people up, but you don't understand what they're saying. American Samoa is unique because here you have a population of people. Most people speak English there, and actually speak really good English too, And we can't even have a call center in there. We can't even have a call center in that area. Bring the business to American Samoa, other than the fishing industry, right? Bring a diversity of businesses in American Samoa until you get a fiber line running from New Zealand or Hawaii, and that's all politics. You have to. You're quashing international waters and everything like that, and it costs money. I think my friend told me it cost almost $12 million to do that. We're American Samoan.
But with the right support,
with the right people, support,
it
could happen. And that hasn't happened yet. The other thing, and this is controversial in American Samoa, so I'm not advocating one way or the other, but American Samoa is the only territory currently where if you're born in American Samoa, you are not a U.S. citizen. So we're U.S. nationals. When you're born, you pledge allegiance to the United States, but you don't get all the benefits of voting and doing all the other stuff, right? American Samoa is the only territory left that doesn't have that title yet. It's the only territory. If you go any other territory, Guam or Puerto Rico or anything like that, when you're born into that country, you are a U.S. citizen. You can go back and forth from the U.S. without any other paperwork or anything. I mean, the same with the U.S. national, but you get voting rights. You get other things that you can do, and so that's political in itself. I mean, it's really political. there's a lot of the Matai system in American Samoa. Some of them don't want it. Some of them may want it. I don't know. But to even get to let's say, for example, one day they do want that, right? They do want that privilege. That's all politics. You have to pass something at a federal level or something like that for that to happen. So there's a lot of issues, and health. There's obviously health, and our people have a high number, and that's Pacific Islanders, I think in general, a high number of people that have maybe high blood pressure, heart disease, gout, and a bunch of other things. So sorry, 1 second. Marie, honey, I'm doing it. It's just down there. It's down there, honey, okay?
Where?
Down there. Just go, Mama will tell you, okay? Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
You're good, man.
So it's so those are all politics. I mean, healthcare is politics, right? I mean, it is. It really is. It's a lot of our people are on Medicaid. A lot of people are on Medicare, and when you're at the federal government, you're talking about cutting billions of dollars from Medicaid, and you have a lot of our families are on that as a resource, as a stepping stone in a sense, a resource to help their families, to help their families to get the medical care they need. When you hear federal government going to cut billions of dollars, that affects people of color, right?
Yeah.
And so it's just, oh my gosh, there's so many things that, even the criminal justice system. When I worked for Senator Mike Lee, big proponent of criminal justice reform. But, there was a mentality back in the 90s, like just, once anybody commits a crime, you just throw away the key, you just throw them in jail, see you later, And we have a very, for a religious society, I believe, for a religious society, we have a very punitive society, And so, punitive society. And so trying to find ways in, criminal justice reform, so people that commit some sort of crime don't have to spend 10 years, 20 years in jail, and basically send their, when the husband gets sent in jail, what happens to the wife and kids? They all go on Medicaid, they all go on assistance, there's a lot of impact. That's all political, and that's why I think having more people up there that are, whatever your political view is, mine's Republican, there's good Democrats, plenty of good Democrats on both sides, Republicans both sides, or whatever your ideal is, just being part of that conversation is a good start. So yeah.
We're about out of time, but man, I really do appreciate it. Do you have any additional questions?
I'm interested in this.
I was thinking we come back.
Yeah.
I think we do come back where we can kind of elaborate more, because I think like I said, where you either have a seat at the table or you're part of the menu. I think we come back and talk a lot more about that. But for now, we're trying to keep our videos at a certain length.
Yeah.
Our interviews at a certain length. But
this is definitely interesting.
Oh yeah, dude! Your story alone, man. Your story alone, dude.
Yeah, it's
been
great.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. So yeah, man. A few really quick. If you had, your top 1, 2, 3 principles of, that you use within your career, your family, whatever. Whether those are whatever those are specific to you, if you can name those off real quick, and then we'll sign out.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing, and anytime you pursue a career, I'm a religious person, is your belief. My belief in God has really gotten me to where I am, and so that's just, for me, it's number one. For number two, obviously, family and stuff like that, always putting your family first. I think the third one, just putting your family. The third one, most importantly, is if you have a dream, if you have something you love to do, you have to sacrifice for it. It is. You just have to. And the question is, do you just wait for opportunities to come to get paid, or are you a person to say to yourself, look, a lot of business owners, that's what they do. They work for free for maybe 1-2 years, and all of a sudden things pick up and they start making good money, And it's the same thing in whatever career you're pursuing, whatever passion you have in life, it's important to work as hard, get the work ethic, work hard at it, and every day spend a little time. I know that's a big thing. A lot of people, they're passionate about something, they don't spend a lot of time doing it, and you have to take time. You have to take time
every
to spend
day.
Every day to do something in that field, or whatever skill you want to get is totally dissipates. I know, as Polynesians and Pacific Islanders out there, that we have a lot of people that are hard workers, a lot of good people. I'd love to see more people in politics, obviously in business owners or whatever. We have a lot of great hard workers. But in order, like anything in life, in order to get there, you have to be passionate. You have to work hard. You have to, you have to prove to not only yourself but other people that you can do the job. And then things start happening. Things start happening for you. And don't let the stereotypes that conform to Polynesians hold you back from living what you want to do, because we need more, as I say, we need more mold breakers out there, people that just like, they hear this stereotype, it just breaks because they see other people doing just amazing things. And those are kind of my three things that I always focus on is going forward. So
I like that. I like that a lot. Actually, when I was sitting in the parking lot before we got out, I was sitting in the parking lot listening to Gary Vee, of course. Yeah. But he said this quote. He said, "A hobby is nice to have. A passion is a gotta have."
Yeah.
I got to have it.
You gotta have it, yeah. And I agree with you 100%, because the other day was funny. I was watching a commencement speech, and I watch commencement speech just weird, but I watched a commencement speech from Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey, funny actor, one of the best actors out there, and he talks about his dad, how his dad was just as funny as him, and it was amazing to see that his dad actually gave up the comedic type, career and pursued a career in accounting. He said years later, his dad, it was accounting or insurance or something, but he said years later, my dad lost his job, and Jim Carrey for a long time was really poor and stuff, and he says in this commencement speech that if you're gonna fail at something, I learned from my dad that if you're gonna fail at something, you might as well fail at something you love to do, because he did something he did not like to do, and he failed, and where did it get you? And that's my principle in politics. When you go into an election, there's no way I would have known that I would have won the South Jordan City race. There's no way I would have known I would have won a House race, and there's no way I would have known that winning the South Jordan mayor race, there's a guy there that was going to be helping me, connect me to a congressional race, later connect me to a U.S. Senate race, and now working here. There's no way to know that, but it's just so much better when you're young. If there's any young people out there. There's a lot of young people out there. If there's young people, and even old people too, take the time now. I mean, take the time now. That's what I say to people. Take the time now. Take a risk. Take a risk and do what you love to do, because it sucks coming. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, you look back and you're like, well, it sucks. I'm not even doing what I like. I'm working at a call center or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. So.
I like it.
Awesome.
We'll
I think we come back for second interview. So appreciate it so much, man.
Thank you. Sorry for the kids.
No, we'll make
Sorry
sure
for
that
kids,
we share this with everybody. Again, Marcus Jessop, thanks, brother.
Thanks, buddy.